Today, I am going to be speaking to the amazing Sukaina Khalfan. She just came back from Tanzania after completing the 7-day Machame route Kilimanjaro trek. She was successful, and I can't wait to hear all of the details. Sukaina is an amazing mother of three amazing daughters she has, and she's also a small business owner for a display company called Project Visual. So I'm so excited that Sukaina's here today and that we're connecting. And so Sukaina, first of all, like congratulations, like what an incredible achievement.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to speak today because I'm bursting with feelings and I want to get it out. So I'd love to talk about the experience. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So first of all, like how did you get this idea? Like what made you just decide I want to climb like the tallest peak in Africa?
So I love to do crazy adventurous things, and I've jumped out of planes, I've done bungee jumping, and I was turning 40 and I'm like, what is it that I can do this year? Something that's going to like mark this new era of my life. And so I was thinking, and I'm like, I've never done mountain climbing before, and I think this would be something really cool. And I had a connection, and I wanted to do Kilimanjaro because of my parents in a way, because that's our home. We have 5 generations there, and I just thought it would be something special if I do it in Africa. And so the idea of Kilimanjaro just popped up in my head, and it just became real eventually. I mean, I had it in my head. I'm like, I'm not gonna let go of this idea. And I was turning 40 in June, and I said I would climb in July, and that was the original plan. But then, life happened, and that didn't really work out. And I didn't let the idea go. So I said, okay, I'll go in February, because people were pushing me off July anyway because they said it was really cold. So then, and I had asked friends and others, who, if anybody would want to join. And it's hard to get people to commit also, because it's such a big commitment, right? Like, especially from people on this side of the world, you're going halfway across the world, and you need the time, right? So then a friend messaged me after July, and after, I had put it in my head, okay, I can't go now, I'm going to go in February. And she said, I know you mentioned it, and I'm really interested, and I have a friend who's interested, and they live in Dubai, and I've known her for years. So it worked out, like, it was meant to be. And um February just worked for them, and so we made it happen, and I'm so happy we did.
So you
you know
said that you had no experience in mountain climbing, and then you went and climbed like one of the biggest peaks in Africa. So how did you prepare? Like, how did you go from never having climbed anything like significant to doing such a big mountain?
So, like I do generally work out maybe like 3 times a week. And so 3 months before the climb, I started getting really into it. And everybody I spoke to told me, you need to be really physically prepared for this. But honestly, as much as I physically prepared for this, I don't think that I realized actually how much physical effort this was going to take, because it really was like, it was difficult. And at that point, 3 months in advance, I was working out 5 to 6 times a week. I go to Orange Theory, so I had like 30 minutes of cardio, 30 minutes of weight training, and on the days I missed that, I would do 30-minute on a full incline on the tread. And when I was climbing up the mountain, actually, I was thinking, I'm like, oh my God, this really is like walking on an incline, but it's like 6 to 10 hours. So I'm glad I actually did that, and I really went heavy on working out. But even with all that, it was tough. Like, I have to say, like, it was really, really challenging. Like, it pushed my physical boundaries to a lens that I did not know. Like, as much as it was just, I guess, because of the amount of hours you're walking, and it was exhausting, like literally 6 hours on the first day, and then like 7 hours on the next day. And then there was one day where we walked about 13 hours. So,
Wow.
and then summit night was a whole nother thing because that's just like you only have 4 hours of sleep, right? And then you're walking the day before, you're
Okay, so let's
walking
go there.
through the
Let's
night.
go to summit night. So
Yeah.
how exactly did that unfold? I think that's obviously something that's, it was, I'm sure, a super memorable night. And so how did you prepare? What time did you get to camp? How many hours did you sleep before the summit?
So I think I'd have to rewind a little bit because, so the first day you're walking through the rainforest, right? And that was my first day. And everybody said, don't let the first day turn you off because it was. I mean, it wasn't very difficult. It was really windy through the rainforest, and then it got steep. But that was my first time, right? Trekking like through like so many hours, and so I had to learn my pace the first day. I realized like I'm just learning myself that day, right? And then days 2 and 3, again, it was uphill trekking. It was exhausting at times. We had to, rest, snack, and all that. And then day 4 was my favorite because that's the day we did was Barranco Wall and climbing that wall. Oh my God, it was so fun. Like I didn't not realize there was so much technical climbing involved on that day, but I actually really enjoyed it. That was my favorite day. And then day 5 is
So
so we were
what did you enjoy about the climbing? Can you
I
explain?
just I don't know. It was amazing. Like rock climbing, it was just fun. Like it was different.
So
I'm
did
not just
you is
walking. I'm
the
literally climbing up rocks and trying to find the right steps. So it was just fun. Like I loved it. Like that was something different. That was something that was more me. Um so yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then day 5 is the day we summited, but we trekked in the morning about 5 hours to camp, and we ended up at Barafu, which is base camp for lunch. And then they surprised us and told us that they were able to get us to Kosovo camp, which is considered high base camp. So we would
Wow,
save an hour and a half on summit night.
amazing.
Yeah, and then so that was great. That was like wonderful because it was daunting, like the way they were explaining summit night to us with the cold, the wind, and the possible snow, and just the energy that we're gonna lose, and the long trek through the night. So then summit night we slept, I think, at like we had dinner at like 5:30, and then we slept by 10. And we woke at 12:30.
Oh,
And so I only had like we had between 2 to 4 hours between the three of us of sleep. And then we woke at 12:30 and we started the trek. And I got to the top. It was windy and steep. And I got to the top by 6 o'clock to Stella Point, which is like the point before Uhuru, right?
and the sun
And
had
so
already risen by then,
the
or?
sun was rising, yeah, at that time when I got to Stella Point. So, oh my gosh, the views were incredible. The most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. And I just had so much appreciation at that moment for my creator. Like, and oh, like I have no words, and no photos or videos will do justice to what I saw. And, like I never knew you can get so much joy out of an experience like this, but that day was just something else. And I don't know if anybody can understand except for somebody who's climbed. So, I feel like it's a secret sisterhood. But it was incredible. And so I got there at sunrise and I saw this like beautiful orange sunrise, and the colors, and it was gorgeous. And then I saw Uhuru off in the distance, and I asked I had one of the assistant guides with me. So like how much further, because we were trekking 8 hours, and I was still okay. But then like 10 minutes into that walk where it wasn't that steep, you're kind of just going up a little bit, but it's kind of just a wind around this corner. And then my fingers started hurting, and I'm like, okay, it's not like it's cold, but it's not like so cold that I'm gonna get frostbite. So I took off my gloves, and I looked at them for a second. Then he's like, oh, you're just cold. You're gonna be fine. So I put my gloves back on. 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh my God, the pain is like stinging. It's weird. So I looked at my fingers again, and I noticed they were turning blue. And so And at this point, I started to lose energy a little bit. And, but it was like 20 minutes away from me at this point. So anyway, I got there and I just fell to my knees because after all that, like all those 5 days, it was just, it was something like and if you know the effort you put into it, like the physical and the mental effort that went into it, I just fell to my knees. I was so grateful. Like I was so grateful. And so then when I got there, I was on a high. Like for 20 minutes I stayed there and I picked up rocks for my girls. And my daughter gave me a flag with a verse from the Quran. So I put that down. And it was about like the beauty of God's creation. And it was just so meaningful. Like, and I swear that got me to the top also. Like I needed to get that there. And then I picked up rocks for my girls and I prayed on top and I just took in the views. I was on a high. Like I was on cloud nine,
But
you
what
know?
happened to your blue fingers or your
So
discomfort?
I forgot about them at that moment. Like I honestly I was fine. Like I was literally I had the burst of adrenaline and energy in me when I was at the top. And then when I started coming down, then I started feeling woozy in my head. So I'm telling my assistant guide, I'm like, oh my God, what is it? What am I feeling? Is it because I don't have oxygen? Like, what's going on? Like, obviously, like, it's not getting to my fingertips. So, like, the blood's not flowing. So for a second, I was like, okay, I hope I'm going to be okay. And then he's like, you're going to be fine as we go down. So I didn't have as much energy going down. We kind of like locked our hands together. And on the way down, there's a lot of pebbles and rocks. So you're basically sliding. We slid down that 3.5 hours back to high base camp. And and even my guide, I'm like, how are you not sliding? Like, but they're mountaineers. They know the stones to step on and everything. So, but I was so woozy the whole way down. And when I got down to the bottom, they had mango juice ready for me at lunch. It was amazing. And then I ate and I got my energy back and I was completely fine. So I waited a bit. The other two followed a little later. And then from there, they told us eat and then rest for an hour. And then again, we're going to go walking another like 7 hours. I'm like, oh my God, like what? Like,
After
like
not
what?
sleeping,
Like, how do you keep going?
yeah, especially after not,
It was exhausting.
yeah.
Yeah. So then after that, we were like, I think we were just all physically done. And so basically they said they're gonna switch the camps up and they sent us to Millennia instead, which was like which was 4 hours away. And then the next day we had to walk 7 hours. Or we finished it in 5, I think. So yeah, I mean, that was a journey, but Summit Night was the most difficult night. It was, and just the whole journey in general, like I just pushed my physical limits like to the max. But in the end, I did it. So I was so happy. And I mean, I know the original reason I wanted to go was, hey, I'm 40 and I want to do something different. But my reasons changed with time. Like I wanted to do this in goodwill too. So then I connected it to a goodwill effort to build a solar well in a rural area in Tanzania. And then at the same time, I have my girls and I wanted to show them like you can do anything. You can do anything that you put your mind to. And my dad always raised me with that mentality. Go for it, do it, whatever you want, whatever your dreams are, fulfill them, right? And I'm so glad I did. And I can't explain this like sense of accomplishment. Like, and at the end of the day, I don't even think it was about getting to the top. Like each day was a journey and each day I had to reach my summit, you know? And so it was amazing. And yeah, like I said, my reasons changed along the way, but everything was just so meaningful.
So
So
what do you think like got you through those challenges? Like when you had those challenging points, what was it that helped you get through? Was it the companionship that you had, or was it your faith in God, or what was it that kind of helped you at those most difficult points during the journey?
so it was 100% my mindset and my faith because I always, I just kept a strong mind the entire time. I mean, going into this, I was just going in with excitement. I want to do this, I want to have fun. I want to enjoy this experience. And I did tell myself before I left, it's not going to be about getting to the top. It's just going to be about enjoying the experience. And so, I mean, it was just really physically tough, but mentally I was there. So, and I honestly think that's what got me through. And every single day we started um, our walk with our trek with Surah Rahman, which is like the main verse. It says, how can you deny God's bounties? And it talks about the rivers and the mountains, and I mean, we were in that, and like again, I never considered myself like a nature girl, but what I saw and what I felt, and like one day I was sitting on the edge at camp at the edge of a cliff, and I was just sitting and meditating, and like the clouds were blowing into my face, and I felt this like amazing, like just this wind, and I can't even explain the feeling. It was just like amazing. It was beautiful. It was nothing like I've ever experienced in my life. And just to be in that space away from everything, I loved it. And it was like a detox from the world, like from regular life, from news, from noise. And now I know what you go through, like when you go on all these journeys, like now I know. I can actually say now I know, because it was just incredible. And then I'm thinking like, God created this, like this is amazing, right? And I'm actually having a chance to appreciate it. So that's what got me through. And really, people told me this climb is 60% mental and 40% physical, right? And it's true. It's really true, because I can see how you would struggle if you weren't mentally there. If you're going with fear, if you're going with nervousness, it's not going to be easy. But if you're mentally there and say, I'm going to do this, it doesn't, it's not,
You
again,
have
it's not about getting to
moments
the
of,
top.
did you have moments of fear or doubt, or like, did that creep in at all? Or were you,
Not really.
wow.
No, no. I mean, thank God. Yeah, I'm like, I didn't. I never went with that feeling. And so a week before I left, it's so funny. People did kind of just a week before I left tell me stories about the risk and stuff like that. So when my fingers turned blue for a minute and I started feeling woozy, I thought about that for a second, but I'm like, you know what? I'm fine. I'm gonna be fine when I get down to camp. And I was. So it really is just the mindset. It's mind over matter, right? So yeah, and I think that was the reason for my success.
And what did you learn about yourself from this journey? I feel like, being in nature alone, like disconnected from society, for like a week, I'm sure you had time to reflect, and like, did you learn something about yourself through this experience?
um I learned how to be patient. They say on the mountain pole pole, right, which means slowly slowly. And that's also not only a physical thing, but it's a mental thing. Just have patience. Like, you don't want to go fast, you want to reserve your energy, you want to just like take in the experience and appreciate it, right? And I think that helps in getting to the top or getting through your day. So so, I mean, I wasn't trying to walk fast or anything, but um it was just a mindset, like just be patient and you'll get there, um and I feel like being on the mountain, it was taught me about life in it, like it's similar to life. Like, you have a place that you're going, you're on this journey, you're trying to get somewhere, right? But there are going to be obstacles, there are going to be walls that you hit, but you can overcome, you know um so but then you just put your mind to it and you will get there. So it's like reaching a goal in your life. And so yeah, and then the other thing was like, keep looking forward, don't look back, physically and mentally, just go for it, right? Um, and when we did get to the top, and like I don't know, that feeling of what you just accomplished, like what you just did, and I don't know, you appreciate that. You get that whole feeling in you, like I did it. Like I went through all that. It was so hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But you know what? It was the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. I promise you. It really was. And and now that I'm back, I miss the mountain, and I kind of, I don't know, I want to be back there. But I'm still, even though like on day 5 or day 4, no, sorry, day 4, we were all talking to each other. Me and my two friends who went, we're in our 40s, we have kids, right? So we're like, what the hell were we thinking? Like, what the hell were we thinking? This is so freaking difficult. Like, we were talking in the beginning about maybe we'll do Everest. Maybe we'll come back next year with our friends. Even my friends were saying this. For me, it was more than, for me, it was like, this is a one and done, because I like to try new things, right? But they were like, and then and day 3, we were like, we were also talking about our kids, like, oh, like, yeah, when our kids are older, we gotta bring them back for this experience, or they should do this. And then on day 4, we were like, hell no, like, this was crazy. What were we thinking? Were we having a midlife crisis? Like, it was crazy. But then when we did it, when we got to the top and we did it, we're like, that was so worth it. Um, so, you just feel an amazing sense of accomplishment. And I appreciate it now more than ever, even though I'm back on the ground, that the magnitude of what I did, now it's sinking in. And I'm so grateful for that experience. And I can't tell you how much joy it brings me. I actually just texted my husband today, and I was like, I didn't know you can be in love with an experience, like with an actual experience. I'm so in love with what I did. It taught me so much. And I showed myself something, like who I am, what I can do. And again, I like my kids, I'm telling them, you can do anything you put your mind to.
Well, that's why I love investing in experiences, because like for me, like I've done a lot of treks, and like every time I look back at any trek, like even today I did the Pinnacles, which is a national
Right.
park, and I did 8.8 miles, and it was beautiful. But it's like the investment that you make in experiences, when you look back at it, it just
Yeah.
gets richer. Whereas
Yeah.
oftentimes if you buy something material, you'll love it in the beginning, but as time
Yeah.
goes, you're like, oh, that's old now. But the older the memory gets for an
Yeah.
experience, more rich that experience is. Like I remember my Kilimanjaro trek with such
Yeah.
fondness, and that was like the second big trek I had done, and like looking back now, I'm like, oh yeah, I wonder how it would be, like you think about it. And so
Yeah. Now I can say I really get it, Asia.
yeah,
Like, I totally get it.
yeah,
Uh,
amazing. So one
yeah.
of the other questions I had is like, what advice would you give to someone else in general, like about doing something bold, or about Kilimanjaro in specific?
Um, so I would say do it. Just anything you dream, just do it. Like, just put your mind to it and do it, and don't let go of it. Like, why let go of it? Like, if you have something in you, just go for it, and you'll feel so happy in the end. Like, I can't, like, again, I can't explain this feeling that I have, but I'm so happy I did it. And it came up literally. It was so funny because it was February, right? And so, like, on my Facebook memories or whatever, or Instagram, it came up again that I had asked on Instagram February of last year, is anybody have any advice about climbing Kilimanjaro? And I think actually we ended up speaking at that time too, but that was back in February 2022. And then there I was on the ground, about to climb Mount Kilimanjaro 1 year later. And I'm like, I was amazed at myself. I'm like, wow, I did it. Like, it was a thought in my head, and it happened. So just I mean, go for it. Go for your dreams. And this was the most rewarding experience of my life. So I totally just say, just go for your dreams, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like, so often like we have that internal guidance and a lot of times we like don't listen to it in life. And it's like those moments that we do and we fulfill it, it's like you're saying, that sense of accomplishment. And I think that internal guidance is like God helping guide us on our way, you know?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. I
So
love every minute.
So a little bit of more specifics. I would love to know a little bit more specifics for someone who wants to attempt this about like how much did you trek per day, hours, and just like logistics in terms of like the types of food you ate, the company you went with, if you want to share like gear,
Yeah.
all of those kind of like things regarding just the climb.
Okay. So when I decided I wanted to do this, I started reaching out to friends who've climbed, and I looked into a couple of different companies. I, asked them who they went with. I remember asking who you went with. And I spoke to a friend who told me they went with this company, Rahala. And honestly, I went with who I got more feedback from because it was something new that I was doing, right? And it was, mountain climbing, and I had questions like, what do I bring? So, um, who am I with? Like, what's the experience like at camp? So I got the best feedback from this company, Rahala, and I think they're based in Dubai and Kuwait. And again, a friend went with them, and I remember her telling me, "Oh, the meals were amazing," and honestly, they really were.
What did you
So
eat?
how did I eat? You said?
No, what did you eat?
Oh, I have to tell you that. That's I'm gonna get there in a second. So, but basically, with this company, they sent me an email with each day what we're gonna do and how long we're gonna trek, what camps they were. I chose the Machami route because I basically asked um, which is the most scenic route, because I wanted something scenic, and people told me Lamosho and Machami. So and then I was trying to go in the span of my kids' vacation time, their break. So I already had a set number of days. I couldn't do Lamosho; it was one extra day, and I wouldn't get back in time for their school. So I did Machami, which was considered 9 days, one day on the ground, 5 days up, 2 days down, another rest day on the ground. So, and then they gave us the list of what to take, and which I did follow. But again, I spoke to people who've gone and about what to take, and we had a friend, a mutual friend, the three of us, who's climbed 6 times, and so he was really helpful. And then this other friend who told me about the group, oh my god, she was also amazing.
What
She gave
was
me
some of the best advice or like preparation that you got?
um I actually have some that. So this was the best thing. It's the goo energy gel, the caffeine. So on summit night, this thing got me going, and I had four of these going up and one of them coming down because I was feeling woozy. And this really gave us a boost of energy. And there was one day, like on day 3, where one of my friends, she was just low on energy, and I gave her one of these first, and boom, she got up and she kept moving. And that one friend who's climbed 6 times, he said, make sure you eat dates. So I took dates. My friend brought dates from Dubai, and we ate dates like every day. And I think again that was a good boost of energy. We had chocolate covered um, peanut M and M's, right? The peanut M and M's actually, and those like they wouldn't melt, and they're sugar nuts, all in one. So there were specific things like this that helped, and I watched a lot of YouTube videos on top of the list that we got from Rahala. Like one person had recommended those socks with the toes. So I found that really helpful actually, especially coming down, right? Because coming down is its own challenge, right? Your toes keep hitting the front of your shoe, and um, we just
I remember
yeah.
someone told me like cut your toenails really short so that
Oh,
they
I did. Oh my gosh. I cut my nails short. I cut my toenail short. And actually, my toe is still actually it's like dried blood right now. I don't know if it's gonna fall off because it was hurting, and I think my shoe just kept, I think it just kept hitting the front. But then my guide stopped me halfway down. He's like, "Let me tie your shoe tighter,
yes.
so that you stop slipping forward." And then the other thing coming down, actually, I was asking them, I'm like, how do your knees not hurt? Like, you've climbed this mountain. These guys climb like 100 times, right? So they're like, no, yeah, we're wearing one sock, we're fine. And I saw them like the way they were skipping down. So, and I realized my knee kept locking on the way down. So then I'm like, hey, maybe I should try that. So me and my friend, we kind of started running down the second day. And actually it did help because it's lighter on the feet. But
I actually do that too. I trail run down whenever I'm on a
yeah,
and it's much easier because you're not like resisting gravity as much and you kind of
yeah.
just like
It was so interesting. I didn't even think about that, but I asked them, and see, they kind of said in passing, oh, it's like less pressure on your feet. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do that too. Can I run down with you? So I'm like, can you go ahead of me? And I just like watched the footsteps and I just kept jumping from stone to stone, and it was so much better. But yeah, in the end, we went with Rahala, and again, they guided us very well. We had a Zoom call right before the climb. We had the list, and then the food. Oh my gosh, the food. They had a cook come with us, and they had an assistant cook also. The meals we had, I swear that's what kept us going. They carb loaded us so hard, but we had kukumpaka one day, which is like coconut chicken, which is kind of like our East African Indian dish, and a salad and a soup, like a soup that was so warming for the soul. Like, I swear, every single lunch and dinner we had this amazing soup. He would make leek soup, potato soup, spinach soup. It was amazing. The soups were like fantastic, and they hydrated us, and um, then the salads,
how did they
and
hydrate you?
I mean with the soup and
Okay,
um,
okay.
drinks and stuff. But then they had tea for us, and then what else?
Ginger tea or some other type of tea?
So yes, ginger tea,
Okay.
tangawizi, right, as we call it. So yeah, the meals were amazing. In the morning, we would have porridge, and um, what else did we have? We
Did you
had
have
tea.
Western porridge or the finger
It
millet?
was Western porridge, but my friend, somebody told her to bring a cinnamon sugar powder. So I'm so glad she brought that, because otherwise it would have been so bland. Well, we put the cinnamon every morning into the porridge, and it was great. And we had tea, and then eggs. Like, we had a full breakfast. They really took care of us in regards to the food, and that food gave us energy. And they say as you go up and with the altitude, you can lose your appetite, but thank God none of us did. We were all fine, and they fed us so well.
Did
And
you
it was like
continue
a full spread on the table. It was amazing,
did
you
you
know?
continue eating meat after like the first or second day? I know some people can't usually keep it down.
No, we were fine. We had meat up until day 4, I think. And then day 4, I think it's because it's about what they can bring up the mountain, right? Like, and
Ah,
what fruits last and what veggies last, and the meat, like, they can only take it so far. So on the last day, we had a vegetarian meal before summit, and then on the way down, also we had pizza. But then, as in the beginning, you get your meat. We had they had chicken and fries one day. They had like kukupaka one day, and then they had pizza one day, and then again the soups and the salads were amazing. And then on the last meal, he gave us a burger. It was amazing, like the final burger. It was awesome. But yeah, the food was great, and actually that's one of the main reasons I picked this company, because I remember her just talking about the food, and it was like a picnic style inside the tent. It was like amazing.
you guys
Um,
sit on the floor or you guys had
so
chairs?
no, so basically the way it worked was we had our backpacks in our duffel bag, right? So we had our backpack for the day trekking, and the duffel bags would go ahead with the porters. So we wouldn't see our duffel bags until camp. And but so it was three of us, but there was a team of 22 with us. There was the main guide and there was three assistant guides and those people were always with us. It was basically the main guide and two assistant guides with us at all times. So there's three of us, three of them, right? So if we split up, we still have somebody with us. And the people for lunch and the cook and the guy who sets up the toilet. So there was a toilet in a tent, a portable toilet, and then there was a table with three chairs in a tent. So we would see that part of the team at lunch. So we, halfway through the day, they would just set up, and then we would see them, and then the rest of the team would go up to camp and set up the tents for everybody, right? And the again, the toilet and our tents, the guides' tents.
Is it like a physical toilet or just like a
Yeah,
whole?
it was a physical toilet. It was a physical toilet, but it was the one where you had to like you had to pull it out, something at the bottom so that the hole opens, and then there was a flush which you had to pump. So it was an actual toilet. It was great. And somebody was there just to take
Wow.
care of that. Somebody was literally there just to take care of that. One guy was there just to give us coffee and tea in the morning. And he would come with the soap and the water before we entered the tent to eat. So each person had their own job. One guy's job was to set up the tent. And then we each three had our own porters. But again, we wouldn't see those porters until camp. But they would basically be in charge of our duffel, carrying our duffel, putting it in the tent, and they would even like help us pack up in the morning if we needed help, right? I actually bought a 90-liter duffel bag, which I was really tight in. I'm an overpacker in general, and I was trying to keep it so minimal for this trip, but I had trouble with a 90-liter duffel, and it was hard for me to close. So I'm so grateful he was there to help me with that. The other two girls, they brought, I think it was like 130 maybe liters, and I think that would have been better. I didn't have to fill it up, but it was just it wouldn't have been tight, So there are things that I know now that if I did this again, I would do differently.
So they didn't provide you with a duffel. You had to buy your own duffel.
No, we bought our own gear. The only thing that they gave us was the tent, right? So I bought my sleeping bag, I bought my mat, I brought my headlight, my headlamp, and then I bought my own backpack. It was an Osprey backpack. It was great,
How many
and
liters was it?
the backpack. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but it was. I know it was a little less than the recommended size. But that was great. Then we bought a Camelback, right, for drinking out of the straw. That was my first experience with that, and that was like a game changer. Oh my
Totally.
God. I
Yeah.
never even knew about that. That was a game changer. I could do that biking, you
Yeah.
know? It was awesome. So yeah, we would be sipping water out of our Camelback, our bladder, right? Which was in our bag. And then so I had a 2-liter Camelback. I had a 1-liter bottle. Um, so I had 3 liters on me at all times. And I did bring an extra 1-liter bottle. And there was one day, but I didn't take that. It was too much to carry. So I just carried the 1-liter bottle and the 2-liter bladder. But there was one day I actually ran out of water. I think we still had like an hour and a half to go. But they sent one of the porters or one of the guides to camp ahead of us, and he came back down with water to fill up my bottle again. Because he's like, I'm like, do what you think I'll need it, and maybe I can get by. He's like, no, you have to have water just to be safe. So, but yeah, otherwise I had 3 liters on me at all times, and I was told, to bring an insulated bottle also for summit night, because they give you, at camp and at lunch they would refill our water, right? And then summit night it was cold, and they said your bladder would freeze, and it did. So there was a technique where you had to like kind of blow into the bladder.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
warm, but in the end, like it still froze. And so I had a bottle of water and the insulated one as well. And then I kept the bottle of water in a sock and the insulated bottle as well. So then that lasted me on summit night. But yeah, so
And how did you charge your electronics?
So I read a lot of reviews. I'm a big review person. So again, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos before I left, and actually, I think I watched one of yours, and the people you were talking to, they were saying right about like sleep with your
Electronics.
portable, like yeah, sleep with all your electronics. So I did. Oh my god, that was actually difficult because I kept moving around in my sleeping bag, and like I had my watch and kept coming off, so I had to take a rubber band one night and like rubber band my watch to the charger. And I was trying to sleep. I kept feeling like the heat, and but anyway, I because of the reviews that I read on the solar ones, the solar battery packs, because the our list said to bring that, right? And I read a lot of reviews that they don't charge well.
Yeah.
That was true actually. And I'm so glad I spoke to you actually, I think, and I brought a full like proper, I charged it in advance. I brought a
Yeah.
heavy pre-charged battery pack.
Yeah.
So the solar one, I tried that first. It lasted me like a day and a half or 2 days. Didn't even charge. There wasn't enough sun, right? At camp,
Yeah.
there wasn't enough sun on all the days. So then the portable, or the other one lasted me the whole trip, and I was so grateful I brought that because my other friends again they just brought the solar ones and they had trouble charging. And I'm big on videos and photos. It was like everything, like I wanted to document everything. So I'm glad I brought two of them, and the regular one is the backup. So yeah.
So, okay, my next question and my last question is like, what is next? Like, what do you like?
so so after this, I was like, what can be next? Like everything. This was like I'm on top of the world. I'm superwoman now. I don't know what can be next. Um, like I said, for me, it was like a one and done. And I know there's Everest, but I really never really had interest in that. I wanted to do Kilimanjaro because of that connection with my parents, and also I know it's a little warmer, and it was the first 2 days, and I don't know. But like I, in the beginning, actually, right after all that and all the effort it took, I was like, man, that's it. I'm done. That was like the top of the top, right? But now I have a different feeling. Now I feel like I do want to do something. I just don't know what it is. But I do want to do
Honestly,
something epic again because that feeling that I have now, I'm still on cloud nine. Like I'm still on cloud nine, and I feel like everybody has to do something like this once in their life, and I just want to keep doing something else because this feeling that I have, like I just want to feel it again. It was epic. I just don't know what it is. Maybe I'll get some my inspiration from you.
no, Everest, you should consider Everest. Everest it's an awesome trek, and it's a different culture, it's a different society, it's like Nepal.
Yeah,
So, and each mountain range has its own kind of like personality. Each place you climb, you really feel
yeah,
the consciousness that you're interacting with, I think. Like, today
yeah,
I was with the pinnacles, and like they're mighty, cliffs and lava rocks, and
yeah,
it's like Kilimanjaro, like you're connecting with that consciousness that allowed you to climb, and it's
yeah. I heard it's easier, also, right?
would you say Everest
I
is
said I
easier?
heard it's actually easier.
Much easier, yeah.
But then I also I was inspired, and so I was searching Netflix to watch shows about mountains and all. And then I ended up watching Aftershock, which is about the earthquake in Nepal
Okay.
and how it affected Everest Base Camp. So I was like, I don't know about that. But hey, I don't know what's in my mind. We'll see, you know?
Amazing. Well, I think you have inspired me, and you've probably inspired everyone who's watching this, to chase their dreams and to work hard, and, to follow that internal guidance, which is so, so beautiful.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to share before we finish here?
I mean, really, again, to me now, it's you can really do anything you want. Like you can put your mind to something. If you have a dream, just go for it. And I want to instill that in my kids too. Like they saw what it was. They saw the prep I did, and um then they saw the videos and the photos, and I don't know if they understand the full magnitude of it, but I know they know I did something special, and it was something that, and I told them when I got back, I'm like, man, it was hard. it was so hard, but I did it. I did, and it was amazing, and I keep saying to them every day up until now. It's been like over a week. I'm back now, but I'm like, it was amazing, and I like the joy I have from it. I can't explain, and they see how happy I am and how accomplished I feel, and I hope they get something out of that. You just go for your dreams, just do it. You can do anything you put your mind to, mind over matter. Um, just just chase your dreams. Do it. That's all I have to say. Don't stop yourself.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sukaina. This was
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.